Here's a thought. Enjoy your mundane and quite predictable life while you still have the opportunity. You never know when giant insects are gonna invade your planet and create a new slime-flavored dumpling out of you. Echoes of twisted sanities and broken lives reverberate throughout Blue Gender as humans live and die in a world overrun by man-eating giant insects. Though people try to hide, these insects, designated as blue, are Terminator tier at finding their prey. Blue Gender should be at the bottom of everybody's top anime I wish were real life lists, as it's never a matter of if the humans of the planet are gonna go extinct, it's a matter of when.
Almost in the blink of an eye, the Earth was overrun and turned into a planet of death.
Death, rage, sadness, desperation, and broken sanity are the cards that Blue Gender is playing with, and it's got a full house. It seems that dark and depressing anime like this are what I gravitate towards the most. Take the most brutal and bleak anime worlds out there. I'm talking about the Gonzes, Attack on Titans, and all the others that left you with a strange sense of morbid joy as characters fight tooth and nail for their own survival.
This can't be happening. Oh, please. Make it stop.
The seemingly senseless acts of violence, the desperate pleas for the struggles to end, and, ultimately, the newfound resolve to take matters into their own hands. It's the sales pitch that gets you to click on their alluring thumbnails. But what keeps you coming back? What's the hook that compels your fingers not to click the exit button once the credits of the first episode rolls? It's the characters themselves. Their personalities and reasons for fighting so hard to live are paramount to ensuring that you give a damn. Otherwise, they may as well be killing pets in Grand Theft Auto.
I could totally kill you online.
Survivors in Blue Gender are clutching at their last moments with what's left of their rubbled civilizations, doing their best to scavenge what food and shelter they can for themselves, dreading the day that a stray blue will wander into their home of crumbled ruins and devour everyone in sight, liquefying their flesh and bone with acidic saliva, molding them into things unspeakable, yet akin to a child shaping silly putty. It's a tragic existence, one that demeans humans to the level of cockroaches or rats. And Blue, the exterminators. If you're familiar with the likes of Gantz, then let's recall a point in which the manga showcased these beings referred to as god aliens. These aliens were highly intelligent and mirrored our own existence in nearly every conceivable manner, and we humans were used as their pets, being kept in cages on display for children's amusement. We were even a source of food for them. The painful imagery on those inked pages depicted humans being prepared in much the same way that we prepare animals for consumption. The same sentiments are reflected here with the Blue. They are intelligent, they want to live, they want to feed.
The doctor told me. He said there was no cure for my illness.
Now, we welcome Yuji, not to be confused with Yugi, one of two central characters at the heart of Blue Gender. He works as a gas station attendant, and as a hobby, he takes time out to travel with his biker friend Takashi. Yuji confides in Takashi and tells him that he's suffering from an illness that modern doctors can't cure. Must be COVID. The two talk about an experimental program that involves candidates afflicted by the sickness being put to sleep until the day comes that an actual cure does come along. Yuji attends the medical briefing, is given all the assurances in the world by the doctors, and is put to sleep with the hopes of soon awakening to the smiling faces of his loved ones. And, as you may have guessed, things don't work out as intended. What was supposed to be a few years in deep slumber turned into over 2 decades. Now I want you to imagine just how much can change in your life over 20 years of living. Think of what you can learn and accomplish in all of that time, the movies, songs, and even sights you can experience. Now, imagine all of that going down the drain, because you were asleep the entire time, unmoving, unchanging, unfazed by the world around you. Not only is Yuji going to awaken to a whole new set of circumstances, he's gonna find that the world he once knew no longer exists.
Don't come any closer!
This sort of fish out of water story directly mirrors Tokyo Ghoul's Kaneki, where Kaneki commits the innocent enough sin of going out on a date. Yuji seeks a cure for his illness, and both acts have a high cost. made payable by a loss of one's future. Their potential, the only remainder is spare change in the form of what-ifs and regrets. It's a frustrating situation, and the agonizing aspect is that there's no real justifiable lesson to be learned by either party, as there was no foul to begin with. It was simply their turn to have one of those tragic twists of fate crap down on their heads, and now they are forced to live with what was dumped in their laps.
Come and get it!
Yuji's freed from his seemingly eternal sleep by a squad of armored soldiers, some of them operating hulking, lumbering mechanical behemoths, armed with rifles and bayonets. These mechs are capable of taking down a wave of blue, as long as the pilot is skilled enough.
Now, unless you'd rather die, you will follow my orders exactly.
One of the pilots in this case goes by the name of Marlene. Marlene acts as the second half at the heart of this story. She grew up an orphan and was raised to become an unflinchingly loyal soldier, emotionally detached, and capable of staring death in the face. Her mission is to find sleepers afflicted by the same sickness as Yuji and extract them to her base of operations, which is what brought her and her fellow squad members to this medical facility. Unfortunately, Yuji is the only survivor from his test pool. Yuji bears witness to a horrific display of what's to become his new normal, and, understandably, he's absolutely terrified. Yuji's perspective is a unique one here. Throughout his journey, he approaches situations with the mindset of a decent and empathetic human being, and that empathy is something that clashes with this dark and desolate time. Most young people in Blue Gender were born into this chaos, and the older crowd had to watch it all unfold from the beginning. One way or another, they've been tainted by the madness of it all, made to be cold and unfeeling, as shown by many of the armored soldiers along with Marlene herself. You see, soldiers like Marlene are very different from Yuji. She comes from a highly specialized group of individuals that live on Second Earth.
That is where we live now, beyond our orbiting satellites, in a space station called Second Earth.
Second Earth is the space station orbiting the Earth. When the Blue attacked, the most important people, as well as the skilled and talented, were evacuated into this floating safe haven in space, far from the Blue's reach. The rest? Abandoned.
What in the hell did you guys from Second Earth do to them? I want to know why they all look at me with hate in their eyes.
So, you can see the elitist mindset that comes from those who live on Second Earth, where the paranoid and fear-stricken survivors harbor hate for the privileged Second Earthers, and seek solace in tightly knit communities. The soldiers and high-ranking officials on Second Earth find comfort in their military might, senseless titles, and strict rules. And Marlene is a representation of their militaristic and authoritarian ways. She'll do anything to accomplish her mission, including sacrificing a human settlement if that aids her. This again is something that we witness in similar works. Casca from Berserk is a woman soldier that operates within a band of mercenaries. They travel to lands bashing heads and seeking notoriety. By the time the main character Guts actually meets Casca, she's already battle-hardened and emotionally distant, a product of her environment and learned values. It isn't until a prolonged exposure to Guts, her slowly growing romantic interest, that more of her femininity starts to radiate. Casca drops her mercenary persona, at least for a moment, and truly smiles, and thus the two, inevitably, fall in love.
You can't use them as bait? Marlene, do you know what these poor people have been through?
All right then, Yuji. Can you think of a better way that we can save them? Loss of life is sometimes unavoidable, acceptable during any military operation.
Focusing again on the two characters at the center of this story, Yuji and Marlene are stark opposites. Marlene was raised to be a desensitized killer, and Yuji is a regular Joe with a tendency to lose his lemonade. Upon meeting new faces, indifferent Marlene largely ignores those who offer her no benefit, and by contrast, Yuji actively seeks human interaction.
Yuji, let's go.
Marlene, Joey is dead. How can you be so cold?
If a comrade falls, and in this anime, many will fall, Yuji will grieve and become reluctant to accept their fate, while the soldier girl Marlene will just keep pushing on, unfazed. These two frequently butt heads on their journey to Second Earth due to their incredibly differing personality types. But that's where a lot of the magic of this anime happens over the course of this adventure.
Back in my day, it was the men who looked after the women.
What do you mean?
I know. These days, everyone seems to look after themselves.
As the two keep moving forward together, they create a bond and grow together. It starts with them learning to trust each other and to lean on the other person's shoulder in times of need. This ranges from large moments like rallying an entire community to take a last stand against the blue to defend their homes, to the more personal and seemingly insignificant ones, like huddling up for warmth in the midst of a freezing night. The two become almost inseparable as comrades and, unconsciously, as lovers. This sort of character growth is very prominent in the similar anime Attack on Titan, where Eren is somewhat the black sheep among the other characters. He's motivated by his hatred of the Titans that killed his loved ones, and as a result, he wants to be put on the front lines to face as many of them as possible. Adversely, everyone thinks he's crazy, just downright insane to even want to do that instead of taking on the equivalent of a desk job, until he gives a few heartwarming speeches and downs a couple of Titans. Now, Eren's an inspiration, using his motivation to help motivate his comrades. And the point of this being, as character bonds grow, so too do the characters. As they encounter more groups, Yuji is exposed to the idea that death is an inevitability. He can't save everyone. You can't just cry and scream to make it all better.
Training. My duty is to deliver you to the space station, and I intend to see you get there alive.
Teach me what I need to know so I can fight too!
Do you understand what it is you're asking?
So Yuji learns to become more self-sufficient in this twisted new reality, even if it's only to protect the people he cares about. Taking on the role of a skilled mech pilot allows him to fend for his own survival. The same goes for Marlene, as she uncovers her own humanity and learns to stop suppressing her emotions. She witnesses Yuji's staunch desire to help and care for the many people they come across. She witnesses his free expression of happiness, anger, sadness, and slowly her battle-hardened condition starts to unravel. By the time they actually get to Second Earth, they're totally different people. Far from the blue, the previously missing novelties of modern living are featured on full display in this miraculous paradise of basic necessities. Medical professionals perfect their craft in labs, as combat trainees hone their skills in virtual battlegrounds.
By combining a sleeper with a specially designed armor strike, we learned that the dormant B cells within the sleeper's bodies might actually be key to eliminating the blue.
You want me to try and save the Earth?
It's here on Second Earth that we learn the true reason behind why the sleepers are being rounded up. Their mysterious illness allows them to become more mentally attuned to the blue insect swarm, gaining a heightened sense of their presence and understanding their current thought processes. There are many tactical advantages to this, as you may imagine, knowing where your opponent is, how they feel, what they're thinking about doing. You'd be on the same level as Psycho Mantis himself, and there's no player 2 controller port. It's an invaluable asset in a war, and that's exactly what the sleepers are treated as, assets.
Marlene! Stay in your shrine, we're on a mission!
Hey there, don't worry, I'm a friend.
Don't interfere!
If Earth is where their bond was created, then it is Second Earth that is going to test that bond between Yuji and Marlene, as their lives on Second Earth start pulling them in two different directions upon completion of their mission. Yuji, the kind-hearted sleeper that is an invaluable asset to the war against the blue, is to be trained for the battlefield, just like all the other sleepers extracted from Earth, slowly but surely becoming the cold and ruthless killers Second Earth is so fond of. And Marlene, a once proud and devoted soldier whose newfound ideas and values no longer align with the brutal practices of her occupation. She's found her heart, but lost her purpose, and her military superiors are taking notice.
You're a damned fool!
It's a rather sad situation, and I, as the viewer, felt a heavy sense of isolation in their separation. You follow them over the episodes, through all of their ups and downs, building this camaraderie with each other. And in the next moment, it's been robbed from you. It was around this time that I realized just how attached I'd become to their relationship. It was a subtle thing, When I realized what was happening, it was too late. I started watching Blue Gender because of all this mind-bending despair and tragedy, along with the brutal testosterone-driven action sprinkled on top. But here I was, continuing to click on episode after episode. Well, after all the blood and bodies faded off screen, I was hooked, and there was no way that I was gonna abandon ship before Yuji and Marlene reached that fairy tale ending I wanted them to. But for as much as I wished for it, the coming events made that wish seem like a distant dream.
If you get between me and the blue, then you're going to get shot at!
Much to Marlene's surprise, Yuji is quickly settling into his new situation. The higher-ups on Second Earth saw fit to group up all of the sleepers and subject them to training that pushes them to their limits. It's a very high-class setup too, one of virtual reality holograms created to mimic the conditions on Earth. To stress the importance of these drills, pain sensors are present to punish carelessness.
Ha, that was quite the high-spirited battle. Yes, it was rather fun.
The way he stopped us with that damaged arm, I've never seen anyone fight like that.
One sleeper in particular is top of the whole class, a real man of mystery named Tony. Tony is mild-mannered and rather soft-spoken, but don't let that give you the impression that he is a nice person.
Oh, so you do your own maintenance checks, huh?
Hands off.
Tony's explicitly antisocial, at times even passive-aggressive. Through his unwelcoming mannerisms, Tony displays a not-so-subtle disdain for those around him.
I don't trust anyone. Something's not right with these people. There's only one thing you should be thinking about from now on, and that's how you're going to survive.
But, despite it all, on some level, Tony reminds Yuji of Takashi, his biker best friend from before the world went to hell. Being fellow sleepers is easy to understand why. Ever since Yuji was awakened to this insane set of circumstances, he's been searching for someone like himself. Another fish out of water. A person that can understand him. A sleeper best friend. But perhaps something more sinister lies behind this desire. Almost like an irrational obsession, Yuji mimics Tony's behaviors. If Tony is constantly performing tweaks to his armored mech, then you bet that Yuji is doing the same. When Tony is hitting all the top marks on the training scoreboards, you can expect Yuji to not be too far behind.
He did all of this? By himself?
I should be able to fight better in this machine. Like Tony does. He's incredible. He took out a nest all by himself.
And if you spot Tony mercilessly slaughtering Blue, and relishing in it like his name is Majin Vegeta, you find a Yuji that is no longer recognizable. He becomes cold, distant, utterly enamored with the idea of surpassing Tony, becoming a cruel and efficient killing machine. In Marlene's eyes, a far cry from the warm and compassionate man that was before, who cuddled with her beneath the dark, freezing night sky. You see, the very same illness that links his mind with the Blue Swarm is what eats away at his sanity, gnawing away at what's left, threatening to slowly transform him into the bloodthirsty monsters he swore to destroy. It's a side effect that Second Earth didn't anticipate from utilizing a sleeper attack force, as Yuji isn't special in this regard. He's in good company.
I'm going to stop the blue, not Tony. I'll use my bare hands if I have to.
The more Blue that the sleepers kill pushes them closer and closer towards the edge, and when they finally break, Second Earth has a hell of a lot more to worry about than pest control. The renegade sleepers flip, not unlike a switch. The bullets they throw at the Blue traded in for warm embraces of affection, a sign of a transformation complete. As Tony leads the hostile sleepers, as well as the Blue that they snuck on board, they indiscriminately attack every human in sight, lacking any trace of morals and empathy. Which is funny considering that not too long ago, Second Earth had an insurrection between rivaling factions, which killed off quite a number of their last surviving humans. You'd think we'd learn to get along better in case we needed the numbers. Anyway, during the sleeper invasion, people are being feasted upon, ripped limb from one end of the space station to the next, allowing the Blue to finish the job they started back on Earth. Extinction. You see, the Blue have an intended mission. It's by design. The Earth itself was overpopulated. on the verge of self-destruction as more and more humans sapped its resources and ravaged its environment. Insects began to grow and multiply. People didn't quite understand where this new species came from. Eventually, the insects that we now know as blue grew larger and larger until the day came when they couldn't be contained any longer, dominating the Earth and eliminating our problematic species from the planet by Earth's own will.
It's all right now. You can stop.
I said get back!
Fortunately, Marlene is able to successfully reach Yuji and break him from his blood rage frenzy. I imagine that's the power of love at work. The pair, along with the other surviving members on Second Earth, managed to fight back after taking down a few familiar faces and suppressing the blue threat. Tony's assault has ended with his life.
It's all a natural cycle of purification.
I thought you were trying to save everyone from the blue, but you brought them here!
Everything is lost! Everybody dies!
Yuji!
Tony!
Before long, when all is said and done, the blue return from whence they came. As far as the seemingly sentient planet is concerned, it got what it wanted. The human population on Earth is near non-existent, and with the humans on Second Earth greatly diminished after the attack, the boxes have mostly been checked. Oh wait, another battle between disagreeing factions erupted on Second Earth? Looks like they destroyed the entire space station. Well, that's another box checked. I may be a bit biased when I say this, but Blue Gender's storytelling and characters are some of the most engaging I've seen in anime. To follow essentially a defenseless crybaby, and watch him become this more capable soldier, to witness his spiral into the abyss, and see him rise back up from it, it's tough to pull off. The same goes for Marlene, gradually opening her heart and transforming into the vulnerable girl that she was never allowed to be, having grown up in this blue-infested world. I cannot strongly recommend watching Blue Gender enough for any fan of gritty sci-fi and violent anime. It's dark and twisted, bloody and gory, but at its core lies a heartfelt story between two people who hated each other when they first met, but eventually grow to love one another in the end. Thank you for watching. This is That Guy, and I hope to see you again soon.